and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers, all you divine lovers out there, and welcome to this video here with me in the Alps, in the sacred space that was chosen for me, for us today. So what I want to talk about is, of course, as always, is the energies and what they're bringing us. So August overall was very intense. It was such an intense month because we had a Lion's Gate, which this year for us, as I've explained, initiated that gateway for physical ascension and our self-mastery. That doesn't mean that now we've come to a certain arrival point and now everything ends for us. There's no more challenges. What that means is that this sealed a certain energy for us, that we really know what we're choosing, that we're really devoting to this path. Don't get me wrong. A lot of times when people hear things that seem very beautiful on the outside, they think something's supposed to happen and now we're going to have this steady flow and nothing will ever happen in our lives and we're all going to live happily ever after. True and false at the same time. So the thing is that what this gateway truly anchored for us is that we really decided. There's those of you who really decided for your mastery. And because of that, a lot of the things of the old needed to go away. They started dissolving and people started presenting themselves, and they presented certain aspects of us that we've outgrown, that we kind of transcended in a way because of what we're choosing now for our self-mastery. This devotional space that we're actually moving through at this time, and it was amplified also then moving through the Divine Mothers, divine gateway, divine love, divine 3 times, I said it. It was amplified, and this means that this sealed the energy. There was a certain feeling of sealing, and later I received a message of masks falling off, really falling off, all that is untrue and unauthentic. So when these aspects are delivered to us through other people, through other means and resources, we're simply seeing almost like we're being in the eye of the storm and things are like whirlwind moving around us and we're just staying put. So this is what August was all about, staying put in our zone, although a lot of the shifting energy was coming and going. So the first thing I want to talk about is, again, something I like to address, and because I live here in the sacred portal in the Alps, I've learned through these 3 years that I've been here exactly. August was our moving month 3 years ago. And what I was shown here since I started to embrace my purpose of a creation pillar is that even the weather patterns show how the energy is moving. So this week when I'm recording this, which is just after the Divine's Mother's Gateway of Divine Love was activated, now this week brought a certain whirlwind of energy. So this is what most people don't understand, is that when energy comes, it's not all of a sudden going to be all beautiful. It can feel that way when you're starting to feel the energy, but the energy as it's coming as an essence is showing us what we're going to start slowly embodying and integrating in our physical reality. Then come these steps and things we need to kind of like dissolve, unburden from, and all these things, right? So the thing is that when this happens, we're going to feel sometimes a lot of clogginess and things are starting to push through and wanting to come up and against the resistance. And I always say resistance is futile, because in the end, we have to see that there's actually nothing that we can ever resist when we embrace our mastery. But there's still going to be things coming, and these things are what we need to face, what we need to confront in order to really choose that on all levels. So as I've said, since I live here in this portal of Alps, I've been learning to go with the energy flow. So when there's, let's say we have a day that's very active, when the energy starts to be activated, that's the first stage. It's going to come through strong winds and storms and lots of rain pouring. And a lot of the times after that, we'll feel like, wow, a day of clearing. But what I've noticed recently is that after that, the energy is still very unstable. When we have unstable energy, we can't push through the flow. And, the lack of that flow, we have to wait for the flow to come again in a steady way. And this is what we're learning. So as you know, there's different states and stages of humanity right now on Earth. And we have 3 main prototypes of human consciousness that's being played out. Old humans who are still living out their karmic patternings and fighting their own selves and going against the self in nature, of course, because we are nature, and going against each other, man versus man. Then we have The transitioning humans, who are the seekers, they're learning, cultivating. And then we have the new Homo luminous, the path showers, the way showers, the embodiments of being that sacred vessel. And that means we need to become, and this is what Spirit recently reminded me of, we need to become like this most precious being, most precious child of creation. What does that mean? Is treating ourselves like we are the most precious item in the universe, like we're the most precious artifact, masterpiece of creation. A lot of the times we even treat other people or our pets or artifacts like paintings and artworks better, with more compassion than we do ourselves. And this is where our main mastery lies. So when we notice this about ourselves, it's a wake-up call to see, okay, where are we doing that because we're still not fully compassionate with ourselves. And as I started this holiday week for myself, because I needed to unplug for a while, because I've got this message that every creation cycle, when you actually culminate in a certain phase, you're never going to push through the end right away. This is how true masterpieces are actually created. It's not all rushing. It's not all for the goal, it's for the pathway. And this pathway likes to go sometimes around, and this is how we navigate. So this third wave, as I've said, of the Homo luminous, are those of us who are learning to once again become masters of the self, to be masters of creation. The third energy, the triangle, is the meeting space of the physical world, which is represented by the square, and the spirit, which is represented by a circle. So we, as the moving human, the evolving consciousness rotator in a way, we are learning to navigate that. We're learning to co-create once again. And this is the triangle. It's that sacred fire that actually starts to rise up within us for us to truly remember who we are and start living it. So the third way of the humans are the new humans, the new earth humans, and we're feeling things differently. So when sometimes people come at us and they say, why are you like this? Or, don't you see the world is screwed up? Look how everything's messed up. And a lot of the people right now are experiencing this stress and such intense movement. And a lot of that, based on fear, wants to suck all the other forms of life into it as well, so you could survive on that old, you could fuel it for a while longer. But those of us who know better, we know that we had to disintegrate from that. We needed to kind of like say, I'm pulling those strings back at me so I can become the puppet master, of my own reality in a way. So we are learning to cultivate our life force, as I've been repeatedly saying in my videos. You're learning to co-create with that flow of the life force. So let's say in a day you get a certain amount of that energy, then you have to know, if you have that sacred gift of the divine, how to use it. So it's going to be used with wisdom. You're not going to just throw away energy. But a lot of us, we learned how it is when we throw away energy. Well, you can't really throw away energy, but you're not at that maximum optimum potential of your creative potential. Oh, yeah, I've just said something funny. But anyway, I want to say that we've learned through the experience how to mature and becoming responsible creative beings. And that's why a lot of you are choosing to eat better, not just because it's popular to be vegan and to eat in a way that, wow, a lot of the new agers are now feeding themselves, but because you have that pure compassion for all life, for all life forms. You're not just doing it to be, I'm gluten-free, I'm GMO-free, I'm this, to be, showing off with that, but you do it out of the right reason. So there's even the way how we do things that are good for us, but it's even in that, it's hidden the way we do it. Are you vegan for the right reasons? Are you, the way you exercise, are you doing it the proper inner way? You're not just doing it, from the outside because it's popular. There's this, I've noticed, and my mom, because she still sometimes reads these online magazines and stuff, she said, well, what is this with this trend, with all this yoga movement? It's becoming like this new obsession with everyone. And I do yoga as well, but in my own way and in my own devotional pathway. It's just for me, it's between my spirit communion. But then I've looked around and like, yeah, it is a bit like that. And I've been pondering on that on my running meditation bench. And what came forth was Spirit said, well, that most humans, when they get infatuated with something new, they overdo it. That was the usual human way. It's like you become so infatuated with something, you engulf yourself with that. That's all you can see. So now we have like these popular movements, but they're still not fully coming from spirit. But it's good because they're a pathway, they're a jumping step off to that new next reality. So the transitioning humans are getting infatuated with a lot of the things. And we, as the steady pillars, the Ascension pioneers, we're showing the way of how to do it in an integrated way. How to really do it through the life force. How to not max it out because it's a new fashion trend. because I've been looking for a new yoga mat because I didn't have one that's really good, you know, to be having a firm grip and non-slip kind of thing for the indoors, because you know the summer is going to go in the closet now soon, and we're going to have autumn and winter, the colder months coming here in the Alps. So I was looking at it and it was like so much offered and all these prices and everything so pricey. And then I asked my mom for her opinion, and she said, you know, there's just a new business now. And I'm like, yeah, to have something as a business or something that's a devotional art work between you and your soul is a different thing. So when I talk about these 3 waves, that's what I'm talking about. We need to see whether we're doing something, even if it's a good thing on the outside, whether we're doing it for the right reasons, for the reason of our personal, true life force ascension connection. So, as I've been sharing, I want to go back to the how to work with ourselves when the energy is scattered, when the energy is unstable, when these waves of energy are hitting us, and it's coming from the galactic core, it's coming through different stellar influences, it's coming through, then the sun cultivates that and it beams it out as well. So we have solar flares. I've explained this in numerous amounts of my videos. But what happens is we are bombarded with energy. That's how it feels when we're not aligned. So when we're not fully aligned, when we're still transitioning, or whether we're totally asleep, we're going to feel like, what's up with the world? The world is wrong, because we're not seeing what's truly happening. But when we know how to step in the vortex, we're going to be in that eye of the storm. Everything will seem like a whirlwind of energy and craziness and madness sometimes. But we need to know how to step away and out of that madness into our vortex. So in that vortex, when you're in the no time zone, in what I talked about in my activation for divine love, in that eternal self wisdom, in that integrated eternal self presence, we're going to feel differently. You're no longer going to feel like these things are a part of your reality, but of course, as a compassionate being a human, having this body, you're tuned into all the other humans. The more inwardly focused you get, the more outwardly presence you will feel, but your mastery will be how to live in those 2 worlds, the inner, the outer, as a full master of creation. So that's the triangulation aspect I've been talking about. So when we know how to witness ourselves, that was the first step. When we know how to witness ourselves, what are the things that are coming up? What are the ways we're doing when we're forcing things? What are the things that we're not always willing to see? I've been shown lately, and Spirit showed me that there's a lot of beautiful beings who call themselves light workers and are really pure, beautiful beings, but they're still only choosing the light side. They're still saying it's all light, it's all light. The truth is it's all of love. But love, when it creates, you have both light and the shadow when it comes into matter. So true masters, true wizards, real wizards of complete wisdom, we're wizards and masters of both shadow and light. And a lot of people are naive and they're just seeing things as light. And when they have human things happening to them, you know, you notice when I do like this, you know, it's not a full truth. Nothing happens to us. But when something happens like that, they're not always going to be able to apply what they know of the light into their human life reality. For us to master the living incarnation space of Earth, we truly need to become masters both of light and dark. Well, there is no comparison. There's no like this is this, this is that. It's either way. It's the yin and yang, you know, which is a symbol that always rotates. It's always in motion. So the 2 are always within each other. So that's the true sacred union we've been walking into. And when we, and this is what I've been shown lately, we can really stay put with our darkness as well. We're not going to be afraid of those moments when we feel like we fall to that ground. We say, oh my God, I've fallen to my weakest point, or I've gotten to my lowest point, sometimes we say. The thing is that the fear prevents us from experiencing that, and that's what it's called, the false light. It's to be naive because you don't want to grow, and you're always going to have like a blind spot in your eye. You're going to be so much turned to the light, but you're going to have this blind spot which will always influence your reality. You're going to say, I'm choosing the light, I'm creating from the light, then something happens, bam. What? How did that happen? But I'm always choosing the light. Well, you have a blind spot that you really didn't yet integrate. So what I mean is, when the energies bring us those new things that are coming from the surface, we got to allow ourselves sometimes to have those pitfalls, to fall to the ground, to fall on our knees even, and to be humbled enough to say, I give up, I quit, I don't know what to do next, or I'm so sad. You know, we have to embrace those moments. I have very rare moments in this scenario because I've mastered myself so much. But when it happens, I also need to be human. I need to allow my human self to express what it feels. Even if for a moment it says, oh my God, I suck at this. I'm not good at that. I have to allow myself to express that, even if it's just a secondary feeling. In the next moment, it's like, why was I even saying that? But I allowed it. That's true compassion. That's true love for yourself, because you allow all aspects of you to express themselves in that moment. You're just like a flow for those feelings. You're not harboring them. You're not collecting them. You're not those feelings, but they're flowing freely within you. So I noticed that I had this huge cry just recently after this scattered energy kind of pushed that out of me. But after that, I noticed I didn't cry for the entire summer. I used to do it more on a regular basis, but I didn't, because I really felt so good. But when something comes as a push for the next stage, it's not going to happen because you got back to where you were before. You got darker. People fear that they're going to kind of fall back to where they used to be. If I cry, I'm showing weakness because I used to do it before and now it feels so good. Maybe you feel good for 2 months and then something happens because it wants to push you to the next scene. We sometimes confuse those feelings, like we say, but I'm harboring anger or whatever, and then you explode. It not necessarily even will be anger. It will be that frustrated, anxious, frenetic energy that wants to move you forward, and that's okay. And that energy, when you allow it to do its magic, because it's also part of the life force, that's the thing. But when you don't allow it, you're like, no, I have to be positive, I have to do this, you're gonna stuff it down, you're gonna start suppressing it even more, and then you can't have that total rock bottom in the moment. It's not total rock bottom at large in your life. It's just momentarily lapse, so you can rise up like a phoenix from the ground, from scratch. Because when we're creating, we're always, in a way, we need to create from scratch. We need to create from blank leaf slate, and that's what August was all about. It was that blank slate for many of us. I felt so blank. I'm like, I don't know, I'm so new. I'm like a baby. For a few moments that I had, I felt like a baby. And I even said to my mom, I want to be a baby now. It was funny, but I just said it. I just blubbered it out. The thing is that these feelings are in need, and they're a part of our life force. And when we allow it, we're magicians, because we're allowing that to happen. We're not suppressing and blocking ourselves. The only blockages that are self-created. They don't exist. Universe never blocks anyone. Universe just has its timelines. What's happening with the earth are these shifts. We're simply needing to feel into them to know when it's time to go, when it's time to pause, reflect. Okay, go again. Okay, rock bottom, I'm falling down to my knees. Wow, I'm rising back up. What is this? But it's naturally happening. So when I had this moment and I allowed myself, because what happened was I had a really weird day, because I tried to push through the resistance of this non-yet stabilized energy. When it was still in shift, right? And even the weather was like that. And I tried to push. I was like, I need to do this, but then I need to do that. I didn't allow myself to simply say, the energy's like this. I should know this already. I'm a master of this awareness. But it's also our human mastery in how we work with the awareness that we have and that we possess. So we can have all the awareness we want, but are we utilizing it? And sometimes we're going to go against it just to see that, I'm going against it right now. I can shift like this in an instant. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're learning. That's what we're growing through. These are our growth stages. For a lot of you, it might feel like that, trial and tribulation, which is good. It's all good. It's all for growth. And when I had this moment, what happened was, it was a really weird day, and I almost broke my crystal ball, the big one that I have with Shekina butterflies. I didn't even do anything. I just put my tiny little crystal ball that I have two, that I carry around with me in nature sometimes, and I put it in the big one. It's always wrapped in cloth, but for some reason it just cracked and it broke. I'm like, what? And I was so mad for a moment. I'm like, why did I do this? It was so expensive, and the shipping and the customs paying. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. I was so mad. And I'm like, oh, I just have to accept it, And then I've realized that there was a part of me that wanted, we all have those aspects. You want an answer. What's the meaning of this? What's the message of this? And I've learned in my life that when I really am aligned with spirit, the message will be instant. The moment you do something, when there's a message behind it, you will know. You'll be shown, you will know. It's like you will instantly know, oh, that's the message. But when you're trying, oh, what's the message in this? What's the message? Sometimes there isn't any message. Sometimes it's in the moment there isn't. But when you allow it to unfold, you will get it. That's the thing. What happened for me the next day, I started my new yoga practice in the mornings. I started my new Zen routines and new initiated rituals. And what happened was, I said, I'm gonna play that bowl. We kind of glued it together, right? It wasn't perfect anymore, but I said, okay, let's just see. It was my beautiful Shekina bowl. I can't just throw it in the garbage, right? So what happened was, before my yoga, I put it on my mat and I played it. Just a little weird, spacey sound, like an ET vibration coming through. But the main vibration was still the same. I still felt strong energy moving through me. It's a first base chakra crystal bowl. And what happened was the bowl messaged me. She said, well, you didn't use me for so long. I just wanted to be noticed. You need to use me. Get me in my routine. Oh, I get tears now when I say this because it's the truth. And I'm not saying, right, the bowl spoke to me. I'm not a psycho. I'm not an idiot or something. What I mean by that is my consciousness, when I used the bowl before, when I played it, it's the consciousness that I put within that. So that's what makes things alive. It's our own consciousness that we put and infuse our things with it, like crystals and so. They're just amplifiers of energy. So when that happened, I have realized, oh, so it wasn't meant to be totally broken. It was just like, okay, I'm still gonna work for you, but come on, I gotta do something for you to play me, because it was just laying there in a corner. Because I always was so busy doing something, and for a lot of the times I didn't just sit and do the things that I felt called to really do from the soul. So when something like this would happen, it's not a message you're doing something wrong, or you need to learn this lesson or that lesson. Sometimes it's just to pay more attention. What are you seeing behind that? What are we seeing behind those things we're experiencing? So that gateway of physical ascension was also to make us more present in the physical body. We also had one event when we went to that mountain gorge we have there. And my mom went with me, and she's not very good at, sometimes she's very afraid if there's weird rocks and she doesn't know how to how to approach them. What happened was, I just looked back, she was behind me, and I see her, like she was climbing it almost like to a tree, and the rock was there, and she was like, oh, and she was holding herself like this. She was making it so difficult for herself, but all she could do was just like walk at it, like put, the hands on the floor, like, like you're doing walking the steps. And I look at her, she complicates so much that she's almost killing herself there. I'm like, oh my God, and I almost exploded. I'm like, what are you doing, woman? You're crazy. You're trying to get me crazy. You're gonna kill yourself. I was just so mad at the moment because I love her so much, and I didn't want her to do that to herself. But in that moment, I was like, okay, still, okay, we're gonna do that again. So we went there, I said, look, just look how I do it. Look through me, just see how when the human makes a choice out of the fear, you're gonna complicate, you're gonna make an elephant out of nothing. Now look when you're just approaching, ooh, wow, I don't know how to walk that rock. Okay, force, show me. Ooh, let my body show me how to do it. In the end, it's so easy. And she did it a few times. I'm like, you see, you can do it. You can simplify your life. Things don't have to be approached out of the fear. Because when we make choices out of the fear, we're usually going to do stupid things. And not everything is a message to learn lessons or, oh my God, we need to suffer because this happened, or I sprained my ankle or whatever. Sometimes it's just a message to be more present with our bodies, because we're still in the physical, and with all the awareness that we have, we need to daily ground ourselves, because when the energies are so much shifting, they're so intense, and lots happening on this planet that you don't always see when you're focused on you and your own vortex, of course, you being your pillar. But things are still happening that way, and they're still shifting and rotating, and a lot of the times we daily need to ground now. It's become so intense that if we don't do that, we can lose the grip of our reality, and then we're not going to be vessels to assist others. Only a full vessel can serve. When I went into Ascension Pioneers those few years back, and I constantly did that and wrote and did so many things and everyday videos at the beginning, I was so tired. And after years and years of being that kind of tired, I realized, wow, I went so much into it without first integrating myself to the maximum. When I'm fulfilled, then you extend that outwardly to the service. It's not a self-sacrifice. It's a sacrifice for the lower, for that of the higher. That's all that the true service means. And just to be the conscious pillars, we're already of such beautiful service, and then we extend our bonuses, our surplus of energy, all that remains when we know how to nourish, navigate internal systems, then we overflow, then we kind of extend that out. We can't give out like prematurely and all the time, and that makes us immature still. So I learned, wow, I was a lot of times doing things prematurely and too early, and I wanted to get everything done. And the pattern revealed to me throughout the years of my life, not just the years that I've been doing what I do now with Ascension Pioneers and Serapina Light, but prior to that as well. I was always so focused, things needing to be done like this and like that and perfect, and being a perfectionist made me actually really gain a lot of awareness, be really devoted. But at the other hand, it has a shadow aspect to it, which is you're overdoing, you're overthinking, you can overanalyze, you can be too much in it. When then my playful side was developed, and it's continuously developed here in nature, when I'm just tuning into being nurtured by life, being supported by life, by myself, and then through others as well when you're receptive to that. Wow, so that was kind of quite a school of mastery during this summer for a lot of us, for a lot of you. And like I said, there's a strong message when the energy is shifting, you're gonna notice it. Even if you have, let's say you're doing a project, you have it done like 90%, and you say, oh, I just 10% missing, I need to push through, resist, I need to do it, I need to, like people say, power through it, let's power through it. It's not like we're running a marathon, you know, like Osho says, what's the end of coming to a goal? And then you're like, what? All of this for this? No, nothing there anymore? I've arrived? What? It didn't pay off, right? So that's the kind of thing, it's for the journey. So when we have creations and creation cycles, everything we manifest is a partial manifestation. So when we get a negative, seemingly, manifestation, is just because we're getting a lesson of something that we need to refine, redo. Mercury will go retrograde now in September, and we're going to have the eclipse season. Oh my gosh. So you see, we got to prepare for this. It's so important, and we've been trained for this the whole summer. So the thing is that energy of knowing that everything is always just a partial creation, it's never ending, makes us feel like life is a game, it's a play. We can relax, we can take a breather, we don't have to power through all the way, always 100%. Or 111%, like I say. The devotion needs to be like this. That's our true north. But how we do it, it can be like this. It's like a river flows like that. The river is never flowing like this. I mean, I'm learning from my own mountain rivers here in the Alps. They're going always like this. And it's not always a steady flow. You know, winter comes, snow, and the next year, the stream of the river goes in a totally different way, and everything changes. Even the mountains they're not static, they're always changing, they're evolving, they're moving, growing, some are shortening themselves. It's just how it is. So when we realize that, we can free ourselves. And this whole summer for a lot of us was about total liberation of our soul, to just soar in our bodies, to be flexible as we can, and to know that we're always doing the best we can in the moment. And when these things come and they make us feel like, oh, you know, I should push through, and then we see, we're going to be seemingly blocked. And the whole art of living through life force is knowing that blockages are perceptions when we want to push through, and it's not time to push through, because we're never meant to push through, you know. Even when seemingly, you know, when we watch the flowers blossom, in the beginning they're just this stem, this green stem, and then all of a sudden it's like, what? How did it blossom? We don't know, because it happens so naturally. Even then, even in nature, there's no pushing through. It's like a continuous energy. Wow, blossom, how that happened, so naturally, so organically. That's how our lives are supposed to feel when we're really aligned as one in unity consciousness with all life and creation. And that's my desire for all of you, for all of us to live that way, because someone needs to pave the way, someone needs to live that way. We're not just teachers, we're not just, you know, people do lots of these workshops and whatever, but that third wave, the way of the new human, the Homo Luminous, is the wave of those who are doing it. We're the embodiments of that. We're the new masters. We're the new cosmic antennas and embodiments as well. So that's it. I'm sure there's much more wisdom coming through. So let's see if I manage to get some additional videos. I'm going to do this way now, and what comes and follows after. And if you are interested, like I said, I have 2 beautiful light activations that came through the sacred portal during the August activation period. The gateway of physical ascension and the gateway of divine mothers, divine love opening. Those 2. Then I have an audio course on how to live our sovereign, how to truly live it within our inner domain, not just for ourselves, but as humans. We have relationships, we have daily things we're doing, we're creating, and this really grounds us in that wisdom. So that's available too on my page. And as always, you can enjoy my mastery courses and lots of other material. Just go to my page, Serapina Light. Thank you for supporting, for sharing your feedback to what you're experiencing. And I'll see what else comes through. And I love you all so very much. Have a beautiful time. Bye-bye. Love, wisdom, and power. ist mit Taras Indian Veranitik nicht mit Alat ist Karanit Ia Vermischt mit Alastatek Ina Erkteniast mit Aramatik ist Veranitik Ia Maranit Inast mit Ar ist A Veranitik Ia Alantek Erast mit Maranit Iast Right Suranata Ia Suranata Manak Istalata Taranit Mia Kudaredik Al Etika rakias nast met in dat het aast is met het ijs. Servantik ina die elok nast met karanit aast alat elevator nian elevator inia eleveert kitneest servantik fernet inia alanet inia ust inia fernet inia. Servante que